Roger Stone, a former longtime confidant of Donald Trump, insisted Friday afternoon that he is innocent of a string of criminal charges brought by special counsel Robert Mueller, and said he would never turn on the president. Then he lounged in the sun and ate pizza with his attorneys. He walked out of federal court in Fort Lauderdale, Florida after appearing in front of a judge, hours after FBI agents raided his home with guns drawn and arrested him on charges including lying to Congress and witness tampering. Stone was sprung from jail on a $250,000 bond and called the InfoWars Conspiracy Theory radio program to proclaim his innocence. He emerged from the federal court building flashing a V for victory with both hands raised, Richard Nixon style. He addressed scores of reporters outside the court to say, "I am falsely accused," while protesters around him shouted "Lock him up" and supporters chanted "Roger. Roger. I will plead not guilty to the charges," Stone said, shouting over the protests. "I will defeat them in court. I believe this is a politically motivated investigation." He added, "There is no circumstance whatsoever under which I will bear false witness against the president, nor will I make up lies to ease the pressure on myself. I look forward to being fully and completely vindicated." Attorney Robert Bushell, appearing with the defiant Stone, added, "He's leaving, so it's a good day." The media spectacle on the courthouse steps came after FBI agents in tactical bulletproof vests arrested Stone on Friday morning with guns drawn. They acted after special counsel Robert Mueller unsealed a 7-count indictment from a grand jury impaneled in his sprawling probe of Russian election meddling. The self-described political dirty trickster answered his front door during a dramatic pre-dawn raid with a lead agent shouting, "FBI! Open the door. We have a warrant." With tactical flashlights shining in his face, Stone confirmed his identity to the agents and was led away in his pajamas. He said after being freed that a total of 29 agents terrorized his wife and his dogs, and that he would have surrendered himself if asked. As he stood in court, agents were still at his property with a tented tarp erected outside the front door, forming a covered corridor for moving evidence to waving trucks and vans. A few hours later, Stone ate pizza and lounged in the sun outside a friend's house. In photos obtained exclusively by DailyMail.com, the veteran political operative looked relaxed and completely unfazed as he reclined on a wicker chair and chatted casually with a female acquaintance. The career GOP strategist also ordered pizza delivery for himself and his legal team as they plotted behind closed doors to clear his name. The silver-haired Stone was still wearing the same navy blue polo shirt he wore to court hours earlier. Stone is charged with 5 counts of making false statements, 1 of witness tampering and 1 of obstruction of official proceedings. The FBI also raided Stone's Manhattan apartment, seizing hard drives and other materials. Mueller asked a judge Thursday to keep Stone's indictment sealed until his arrest, adding that law enforcement believes that publicity resulting from disclosure will increase the risk of the defendant fleeing and destroying or tampering with evidence. The indictment does not charge him with crimes directly related to Russia or with conspiracy to skew the 2016 election, but with what legal experts call process crimes, lying to investigators and trying to tamper with their work after being asked about contacts he claimed to have with WikiLeaks around the time the anti-privacy group published thousands of stolen emails that embarrassed Hillary Clinton's campaign. President Donald Trump blared hours after the arrest to his Twitter audience, "Greatest witch hunt in the history of our country. No collusion. Border coyotes, drug dealers and human traffickers are treated better. Who alerted CNN to be there?" Stone gave his first post-arrest interview to the conspiracy theory radio program InfoWars, saying in a phone call that he did nothing wrong and his arrest was politically motivated. He appealed for cash, saying he expected his defense costs to reach $2 million, saying he was going to fight the charge. "I predicted for many months that I would be framed on a process charge," he said. "They are criminalizing political activities." When his phone cut out, Alex Jones suggested it was the work of them because they tap all the phones. Grant Smith, an attorney for Stone, said in a statement that the indictment is a clear attempt at silencing Roger. This was an investigation they started as about Russian collusion, and now they're charging Roger Stone with lying to Congress about something he honestly forgot about, and as Roger has stated publicly before, he will fight the charges. He said separately that prosecutors found no Russian collusion, or they would have charged him with it. Roger Stone is vindicated by the fact that there was no Russian collusion. Roger Stone received no materials from WikiLeaks ahead of the public release. Smith added that Stone's misstatements were due to forgetfulness and were immaterial. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders insisted Friday morning in a CNN interview that the Stone indictment has nothing to do with the president and certainly nothing to do with the White House. Sanders suggested that prominent Democrats and Obama administration officials have been guilty of the crimes for which Stone was charged. I think the bigger question is if this is the standard, will the same standard apply to people like Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Clapper? Will we see the same people we know have also made false statements? Will that same standard apply? She asked. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Representative Gerald Nadler, a New York Democrat, tweeted, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, Michael Cohen, Rick Gates, Michael Flynn. What did the president know and when did he know it? His counterpart in the Senate, Ranking Judiciary Committee Democrat Dianne Feinstein of California, said in a statement that the phrase Trump campaign appears in the indictment 24 times, with specific details about a senior Trump campaign official reaching out to Stone regarding leaked emails. Mueller's work has been thorough and objective, and he must be allowed to complete his job without interference, Feinstein said. Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, the senior Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, said separately that the Stone indictment makes clear that his contacts with WikiLeaks happened at least with the full knowledge of, and appear to have been encouraged by, the highest levels of the Trump campaign. President Trump tweeted an encouraging message to Stone in December as news spread that Mueller's team was putting pressure on him. I will never testify against Trump. This statement was recently made by Roger Stone, essentially stating that he will not be forced by a rogue and out-of-control prosecutor to make up lies and stories about President Trump. Nice to know that some people still have guts. He wrote. Trump tweeted in May 2017, 4 months after taking office, that CNN was mistaken in reporting that he still had a close relationship with Stone. Fake news. Have not spoken to Roger in a long time, he said then. Stone renewed his pledge of loyalty to Trump on Wednesday, appearing on the Fox News Channel's Tucker Carlson Tonight. No matter how much pressure they put on me, no matter what they say, I will not bear false witness against Donald Trump. I will not do what Michael Cohen has done and make up lies to ease the pressure on myself, he said. Stone also told Carlson that Mueller is a runaway special prosecutor who is accountable to no one. My testimony is both accurate and truthful, but I'm not even allowed to have a copy of it, he protested. Jay Sekulow, an attorney who represents the president in matters related to the Mueller probe, said Friday in a statement that the Stone indictment does not allege Russian collusion by Roger Stone or anyone else. Rather, the indictment focuses on alleged false statements Mr. Stone made to Congress. As Stone makes his court appearance, another Trump ally, former campaign chairman Paul Manafort, will also be appearing in a Virginia courtroom. Manafort, who has already been jailed for conspiracy, is facing new allegations that he lied to members of Mueller's team while cooperating as part of his plea deal. Stone, a Richard Nixon devotee who has a disgraced former president's face permanently tattooed on his back, has long been portrayed as a central figure in the election interference scandal, but as recently as January 4 told DailyMail.com that he doesn't expect to be indicted. They got nothing, he said of the special counsel's investigation. They've tried hard, but I didn't do anything illegal. That's why I'm not worried and I'll do a public appearance like tonight's without a problem. The Nixon Foundation tried to distance itself from Stone on Friday following his arrest. This morning's widely circulated characterization of Roger Stone as a Nixon campaign aide or advisor is a gross misstatement. Mr. Stone was 16 years old during the Nixon presidential campaign of 1968 and 20 years old during the re-election campaign of 1972, the foundation said in a statement. Mr. Stone, during his time as a student at George Washington University, was a junior scheduler on the Nixon re-election committee. Mr. Stone was not a campaign aide or advisor. Nowhere in the presidential daily diaries from 1972 to 1974 does the name Roger Stone appear. Mueller's federal grand jury met on Thursday, a Justice Department source told DailyMail.com. That's unusual, given the typical schedule of such grand juries. The Justice Department source said the grand jury also met on a Thursday last July, the day before Mueller unsealed an indictment against a dozen Russian agents. The grand jury had been hearing for months from witnesses linked with Stone. And the House Intelligence Committee, then run by Republicans, voted last year to release a transcript of Stone's testimony to Mueller. The indictment says that during the summer of 2016 Stone spoke to senior Trump campaign officials about information held by WikiLeaks that might be damaging to Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. That came as the Trump campaign shifted gears from a bruising primary season to months of general election fights against the campaign official replied to Stone asking him to inquire about potential future release by WikiLeaks, the indictment alleges. Thousands of emails had been stolen from a Gmail account belonging to Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. Other records had been stolen from the Democratic National Committee's computer servers. The indictment directly quotes a Stone email to Breitbart News Washington editor Matthew Boyle on October 3, 2016 in which he complains that he would tell the high-ranking Trump campaign official about his contacts with WikiLeaks, but he doesn't call me back. That matches, word for word, a Stone email cited by the New York Times in November 2018, which cites former Trump campaign CEO Steve Bannon by name instead of the high-ranking Trump campaign official. Messages sent Friday morning to Bannon, then a future White House senior advisor Steve Bannon, and his public relations advisor Alexandra Preet, who worked alongside him in the White House, went unanswered. Manafort, now languishing in jail and facing a lengthy prison term for tax and bank fraud, may play a role in the Stone indictment. It describes the aftermath of the July 22, 2016 release of stolen DNC emails by WikiLeaks, and recounts how a senior Trump campaign official was directed to contact Stone to see if more releases were coming. Bannon is widely understood to be that official. As the campaign's CEO, he reported directly to Manafort. Only Manafort and Donald Trump himself likely had the authority to directed his actions. The question of who gave that order will set off a new round of speculation about whether the president himself could be a Mueller target. CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin speculated Friday morning that it could be Donald Trump himself. On MSNBC's Morning Joe program, former CIA Director John Brennan said the indictment shows an extensive effort to influence the election that may have gone to the very top of the Trump campaign. The question now, Brennan said, is whether that crossed the threshold from collusion to criminal conspiracy. On CNN, Sanders stopped short of denying Trump was involved. "I'm not going to be able to provide you some type of insight or legal analysis," she said. "What I can tell you is that these specific charges that have been brought against Mr. Stone don't have anything to do with the president." Democratic National Committee Chairman Tom Perez said Friday in a statement that the Trump campaign was a willing and active participant in a conspiracy with Russia and WikiLeaks to influence the 2016 election. There are more conspirators yet to be held accountable, and at least one of them is named Donald Trump. The indictment indicates that Stone tasked someone referred to as Person One with contacting WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange for him. Breitbart News Washington political editor Matthew Boyle did not respond to an email Friday morning. Friday's indictment quotes an email exchange between Stone and Boyle, referred to only as a reporter. Boyle was granted an Oval Office interview with President Trump during the first weeks of his administration. Another Stone associate with a cameo in the indictment is New York radio host Randy Credico, who Stone has claimed told him that WikiLeaks had obtained a collection of Podesta's emails and planned to release them. In email from April 2018, cited in the indictment, Stone appeared incensed that Credico had spoken to investigators. "You are a rat. A stoolie. You backstab your friends, run your mouth, my lawyers are dying to rip you to shreds," Stone wrote. "I am so ready. Let's get it on. Prepare to die!" Expletive. "You should have just been honest with the House Intel Committee. You've opened yourself up to perjury charges like an idiot," Credico wrote a month later. Stone responded, "You are so full of expletive. You got nothing." Credico's attorney confirmed Friday to CNN that his client is person 2 single quote in the indictment. Stone is accused of making multiple false statements about his contacts with WikiLeaks, and wrongly denying having records of those conversations. He is also accused of trying to persuade a witness to provide false testimony to and withhold pertinent information from the investigations. The indictment accuses Stone of lying to a congressional panel in September 2017, telling House Intelligence Committee members that he had never asked an intermediary to contact Assange on his behalf. "I did not," he replied. According to the indictment, he had by then asked 2 people to get to Assange, forwarding a request for documents that could damage the Hillary Clinton campaign. News reports have established that Stone sent similar emails to Jerome Corsi, a well-known conspiracy theorist whose relationship with Stone goes back decades. Corsi said in November that he had declined a plea agreement from Mueller that would involve a guilty plea to lying about his discussions with Stone. Corsi confirmed Friday afternoon that he is a Stone associate described in the indictment as person 1. "I am person number 1, Corsi told CNN. "The statements in the indictment about me are accurate. They're consistent with the testimony I gave to the special counselor. What is contained in the indictment confirms I did nothing wrong." Corsi is suing Mueller, the Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA and the National Security Agency for $1.6 billion, claiming the government violated his Fourth Amendment rights by planting negative information about him in various media outlets. This week he added The Washington Post, one of the famed newspaper's reporters, and its owner, Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos.